Hello again, everyone. I thought I'd have a play with some gilding flakes today. I haven't used them for a very long time, and I thought it was about time I revisited. And I don't know, I just thought I would revisit some techniques that I did quite some time ago. I know a lot of people are not keen on using gilding flakes because of the stickiness of the glue. Then they get in a real pickle. But today I am using double-sided adhesive sheet. So I put a piece onto this piece of card here. I don't know if you can see it. I just stuck that there, and I'm going to cut out a square with this die. So you'll see what's going to, well, hopefully what's going to happen in a minute or two. So I'll cut this out first of all. I've done a little bit of preparation. I've started to cut out some other things as well. Right, here's my square. Probably should have cut this too, but I just wanted you to see that, I'd stuck a piece of double-sided sheet onto it. There's lots of different makes of double-sided sheet. This one is called, let's have a look, www.scrapbook-adhesives.com. Quite a nice one. So there's my square covered in double-sided adhesive sheet. So now I'm going to take this top layer off, and I think it will be very well stuck because it's been through my die cutting machine. So off comes this layer. I can see a little bit there that didn't attach. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else is just to put a little bit of regular glue over that. What shall I use? I could use this one. I just need to make sure that the whole of the surface is actually covered. Okay, I'll leave that a minute. It needs to go tacky. Anytime you're using gilding flakes with wet glue of any description, it needs to have time to go tacky. If it's still in a liquid form, when you try to burnish gilding flakes, they will just push off. They won't stick to it. You'll push them off the glue because it's not grippy enough. Okay, what I thought I would do is this. I've made a little stencil from this memory box bamboo die. So my proposal is this. When that is totally ready, I intend popping this onto my piece of card and then adding gilding flakes all over it. That's the first thing. I've got to wait a moment for that little bit to dry. What I had a vision of was this panel, like that, with a frame around it, with this little panda from Simon Says Stamp just kind of looking out of the frame like that. That's my idea. So for the panda, I cut one out in black and one out in white. You could just use the white one and colour the bits you want black with a marker. That's absolutely fine. I find, though, with this particular set or series of dies, it's not a set, they're individual dies, but the pieces totally come apart. And if you want to reassemble them and get them looking absolutely cute, the ears have to be in just the right position. I've had this trouble with some of these dies before. I've got various ones. I've got a dog, a monkey, a giraffe, a fox, I think. I don't know. There was a whole bunch. I don't know if they still do them, in fact, but there we go. So what I've done is this. This is the leftovers from the white die cut. So what I did, just popped that onto another piece of card and with a pencil drew around the inside. So what I propose to do is to cut that out, and then I can assemble all these pieces onto it, because as I want him peeking out and probably popped up on some foam tape, he obviously needs to be joined together. And there's no background die for this to allow that to happen. So I'm just going to cut this out, and then we can start assembling the panda onto this background piece. I'm going to cut just slightly inside, I think, this line. Only marginally, but just slightly, because I don't want any of this to show beyond the actual die cut. Right, I'll just speed this up. Okay, there we go. Now I can start putting these pieces onto here. So his arms and his back are going to be black. So we're going to stick the black one first, and I'm going to stick it on the back of this one. Doesn't need to go to the edge, because as I push it on, whoops, it will squish out. Now we put his tummy inside that. Right, next, the head. The face is white. So we'll do a white face next. I had to look on the internet just to make sure I got the colours in the right places. Okay. There's his face. And his eye sockets are black. So we'll just put a little bit of these in. And I don't intend using that tiny little bit of white, because I'm going to use the white that is behind, and I'll just put a fine liner pupil in there. So let's put the other one in. Okay, and his nose is black. Just going to do that in there. And his ears. His ears are the things that, if they're not in the right position, they're the things that make them look really a little bit weird. Make sure I've got the right side facing. There we go. Yes, they're on the right way. Okay, so there's our panda. I can see a tiny bit of white there, where I obviously didn't cut inside the line. So what I'm going to do with that is just take my black marker, and I'm going to just go over that bit of white that's showing. Any more? A little bit on this ear. Any more anywhere? I think we're okay with that. Right, so there's our panda. We could have an albino, couldn't we, with that one? Right, next let's get on with this. I think that's got to the tacky stage now. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put this onto here. I don't actually want it to stick totally. So I'm going to put a little Versamark on the back. Just so that it doesn't stick unconditionally to this. Right, this is going to go on next. Make sure I've got it the right way. Yeah, it's a mirror image of that. So that's going to go into the... I'm going to put this the other way up, because that line down there that is a little bit iffy may well be obscured somewhat by the Panda, so we'll just watch that. Okay, just tap this down. When I've tried to put this a stencil onto a tacky sheet like this, in order to get it off, I've always put some Versamark on between the stencil and the tacky sheet. This one, for some reason, this is quite thick mylar that I cut this morning with this memory box die. Didn't want to stick at all, and in fact, even without it, it didn't want to stick. I put the Versamark there so that I could actually get the stencil off in a moment or two, but the Versamark didn't work, so I've done another square, and I'm just hoping that this time we'll be okay. I have got some bamboo tweezers. Now these are kind of anti-static, so you should be able to pick up gilding flakes more readily so they don't sort of fly away. However, if you do get the tips of these sticky, then, you know, you will get in a pickle. I'm going to put this all over. Aren't they pretty? This is nearly the end of this particular pot. I've got heaps more on my stand. Instead of using a scoochie this morning, I thought I would try using a brush. This is a stencil brush, so it's a nice flat end. And what I'm going to do is just push them around first of all, so that they are kind of more all over coverage sort of thing. Let's just tamp them down a bit without pushing around. Put a few more bits over where there are gaps. I'll try a few more of these. Some of the gaps, of course, will be where the stencil is. Let's try again, because any remaining flakes are going to go back into the pot. Okay, let's try now. Let's see. It's pretty, isn't it? I love the look of gilding flakes. I love the fact that you get the sort of crazed lines going through it. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between using a brush and a scoochie. A scoochie is a kind of a special kind of foam sponge, fairly stiff sort of thing that Indigo Blue sell for just this purpose, for burnishing. But you can use other things. You could use a dish sponge, I guess. I'll have to try one of those one of these days. Okay, let me leave that at that for the minute. We'll get this lot back into the pot. These pieces, the smaller pieces, I mustn't breathe too heavily, they make a very different effect from the larger flakes. The larger flakes are brighter somehow. Okay, those are back in the pot. Now, this is the reason why I would have used some Versamark, but it's done really well. Now, I've taken that off, but that bit that is left is sticky. It is still sticky. So what I've proposed to do with that is I'll use the other side of my sheet. Here I've got a little pot of black glitter, and I'm going to spread the glitter over the rest of this sticky sheet. Give it a little shush around. So this is going to stick to the rest of the adhesive sheet. Now, isn't that pretty? I will put it on again just to make sure that we've got good coverage. So I'm just going to tip this back onto its the surface. Looks like there's a few bits of the gold in there as well, but we don't worry about that. Now, isn't that pretty? I will pop this back into its little pot. I'll try and just get rid of a few of the gold bits. Okay. I can always sieve that this little lot, and because the foam bits will probably be bigger than the grains of glitter, so we should be okay. Well, I've just cleared off my surface, and if you find that when you do this, the bits of gilding flakes are hard to get off, the easiest thing to do is just to put, because it's sticking to the gluey bits, a little isopropyl alcohol over the top, and then with a piece of paper towel, just simply wipe, and off it comes. Easy peasy. Okay, so that's ready then to be used another time. I did manage to cut this really quite thick mylar by using my precision plate in my Platinum 6. It's a Sizzix precision plate, but in my Platinum 6 machine. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is to sort out my frame. You see, I fancy that for going like that with him sort of just in the corner. And I think, looking at this, I will do a black frame. Okay, I've got 2 black layers and a white layer, which I'm going to stack together very quickly. Right, I'm going to make this float as well. So I'm going to put some double-sided foam tape onto the back of this to raise it up even more. And then the Panda should be able to peek out from behind it. So I've got to be careful. I've got to leave a space because I want him slightly higher too. So let's just see. Make sure I think this through. He needs to go onto this before I put the foam tape on. So if we put him in there, okay, and then I'll put the foam tape over the top of him. Used a bit of old scrap for the back of him. He will need to be raised as well. Okay, this I think I'm going to have flat to the card, and we'll be like that. Bit of something there that we don't need. There we go. So let's stick this. That was a bit of old card as well. Using up my scraps. I knew it wouldn't show because it was going to be on the back. Right. I need to give this a bit of a brush too to get rid of all the residue of the glitter. There we go. Let's take this off. There. I'm quite pleased with him. I think he looks kind of cool. There we go. Now, whether I put a sentiment on him or not, I don't know, but it was a long journey, but we got there in the end. But I think you agree that that does look kind of oriental, doesn't it? That gilding on with the stencil bamboo. So, another card, another technique. I hope you've had fun watching, and please like and subscribe and come back and see me very soon. Thanks so much for watching.